Hello everyone and welcome back to Learn Arabic. We are still in the process of studying Arabic question words and today we will be shedding the light upon those belonging to the part of speech al-harf and which are used to ask yes or no questions. So without any further ado, let's delve in. So all in all, we only have two question words today and these are Hamzatul Istifham and Hal. Yes, you've heard me. Hamzatul Istifham is the name of this particular Hamza, and as you can see, it is in conjunction with the Fatha and it sits on an Alif, and that will always be the case for both. I mean the diacritic and the Cha. And here you can ask what makes this Hamza different from any other Hamza in conjunction with the Fatha and sitting on an Alif that we have already seen. And the answer is, you will get all the details you need by the end of the lesson, so make sure to stay to the end. Right, first thing first, since the question words we are working with belong to the part of speech al-harf, we can call them حروف الاستفهام. Again, حروف الاستفهام, and each one of these is called حرف الاستفهام. One more time, حرف الاستفهام. For example, حرف الاستفهام هل. Brilliant. So Hamzatul Istifham and Hal are used in the Arabic language to create yes or no questions and they belong to the part of speech al-harf. And on a side note, before starting with Hamzatul Istifham, let me please get the record straight from the get-go. We will be only dealing with one choice positive questions as well as nominal sentences. So again, positive, one choice, and nominal sentences. With that in mind, let's take a close look at Hamzatul Istifham. Starting with these two examples. أهذه تفاحة؟ أرامي في البيت؟ Again. أهذه تفاحة؟ أرامي في البيت؟ No worries please, I'm going to show you how to formulate a question on your own using Hamzatul Istifham shortly afterwards, but let's prioritize answering our very first question, and that was, what makes this Hamza different from any other Hamza in conjunction with the Fatha and sitting on an Alif? You didn't lose your train of thoughts, did you? Right. Keep an eye on the examples please. Our examples are أهذه تفاحة؟ أرامي في البيت. As you can see, the question word, i.e. Hamzatul Istifham, comes first. Still, if you have a keen eye, you will notice that there is no space/gap between Hamzatul Istifham and the word following it, which means that Hamzatul Istifham is a prefix. Well done you. So again, Hamzatul Istifham comes as a prefix. Accordingly, it will always be a word initial Hamza, and we've already seen that word initial Hamza always sits on an Alif. So things make perfect sense, isn't it? Now, the answer to question of this type, I mean أهذه تفاحة and أرامي في البيت, is either نعم if the answer is positive or let's say affirmative, or لا if your answer is negative. So نعم means yes and لا means no. Given that, all we have to do now is to answer the questions. As you can see, this is a banana. So the answer to أهذه تفاحة is لا. And if we suppose that Rami is in the house, the answer to أرامي في البيت would be نعم. So again for both examples, أهذه تفاحة؟ لا. أرامي في البيت؟ نعم. As you can see, we've only answered using نعم and لا, making the answer as brief as it gets. However, if we want to go the extra mile for the positive answer, we can say نعم رامي في البيت. Think about it as replacing Hamzatul Istifham with نعم and keeping the rest of the sentence as is. Be careful though, نعم is a standalone particle, not a prefix, so make sure to leave a gap. And here comes another example with the full positive answer just to make sure you've got it right. أسلمى في المدرسة؟ نعم سلمى في المدرسة. As simple as it gets. And here you are probably asking yourselves, what about the full version of the negative answer? Well, I will push it back on purpose to the end of the lesson along with a couple of important notes to avoid confusion, so make sure to stay with us until the very end. Now, as promised, let's see things from the other side, shall we? I mean forming a question using Hamzatul Istifham. As you can see, this is a building, but I'm not quite sure if it is a school or a public library. So I have two options. It could be a school, هذه مدرسة, or a public library, هذه مكتبة عامة. Again, هذه مدرسة, هذه مكتبة عامة. Now, forming questions out of these two options is incredibly simple. Just add Hamzatul Istifham as a prefix to the first words of each sentence, resulting in أهذه مدرسة, أهذه مكتبة عامة. Again, أهذه مدرسة, أهذه مكتبة عامة. It couldn't be any easier, isn't it? It's like riding a bicycle. Right, moving on to هل. هل is less formal than Hamzatul Istifham and also more common. Hence, by using هل, you can break through any situation in which you need to ask a yes or no question. And again, just like any other question word, هل comes at the beginning of the sentence. However, it is a standalone particle, not a prefix. Now let's ask the same questions using هل this time. أهذه تفاحة becomes هل هذه تفاحة? And the answer is لا. أرامي في البيت becomes هل رامي في البيت? As an answer we have two options, نعم or نعم رامي في البيت. Next, أسلمى في المدرسة becomes هل سلمى في المدرسة? Again we have two options in terms of answer, نعم or نعم سلمى في المدرسة. Right, I'm going to read all the examples with هل just one more time to make sure you've got the hang of it. هل هذه تفاحة؟ هل رامي في البيت؟ هل سلمى في المدرسة؟ Brilliant. Are we done with today's lesson? Almost. Remember, we still have the full version of the negative answer as well as a couple of important notes. Starting with the full version of the negative answer, well, forming a whole sentence as a negative answer cannot be done without a middleman or woman. You will see what I'm talking about. And these are nothing but two other negation particles, ليس and ليست. ليست is of course the feminine version of ليس. And when I say two other, I'm obviously referring to لا, which is also a negation particle. Now let's see the situation on the ground. However, I will briefly touch on this part since we will be dedicating a whole series to negation particles at the right time. So our examples are هل هذه تفاحة and أهذا كتاب. And the answers are لا هذه ليست تفاحة, لا هذا ليس كتابا. Again, لا هذه ليست تفاحة, لا هذا ليس كتابا. Please note that the choice between ليس and ليست is solely based on the gender of the noun following the negation particle. ليس must precede a masculine noun, whereas ليست must precede a feminine noun. And given that we didn't study the negation particles yet, all you will have to do is to keep your negative answers short. It's the easiest way out. Right, I'm going to read the examples just one more time before moving on to the first note. هل هذه تفاحة؟ لا هذه ليست تفاحة. أهذا كتاب؟ لا هذا ليس كتابا. That's it, moving on to the first note, and this is more of another easy way out than a note, to be honest. Feel free to consider it as an advice. Whenever you want to form a yes or no question, take a close look at the first word that should come right after the question word. If it starts with Hamzatul Wasl, and yes, you've heard me, Hamzatul Wasl, just use هل to ask the question and avoid Hamzatul Istifham. Why? Well, simply because there is a set of rules that governs the spelling as well as the pronunciation of words in which Hamzatul Istifham meets Hamzatul Wasl, which is neither the place nor the time to deal with. So just keep in mind, whenever you spot Hamzatul Wasl, ask your question using هل. For example, هل الباب مفتوح? Listen closely please. هل الباب مفتوح? While reading, please make sure to pronounce the letter lam of hal with a kasrah instead of sukun. Just the pronunciation, please. Don't change the spelling. How come? Let me read these examples first. I really need to make sure you've got the pronunciation down pat. هل الباب مفتوح؟ هل الولد جميل؟ هل التفاحة لذيذة؟ Again. هل الباب مفتوح؟ هل الولد جميل؟ هل التفاحة لذيذة؟ Right. In all of these examples, the pronunciation differs from the spelling, and this is due to a rule related to preventing two second letters from meeting, which is a fundamental rule in the Arabic language. Two second letters should never meet, but if they do, we have to change the way the first second letter is pronounced because it represents the beginning of the syllable, and we all know at this stage that we cannot start a syllable with sukun in Arabic, so things make perfect sense. And the rule is to change the diacritic of the first second letter to a movement mark, either a fatha, a kasra, or a dhamma. In the case of hal, it will always be a kasra, resulting in hali. هل الباب؟ هل. هل الولد جميل؟ هل التفاحة لذيذة؟ It might seem at first glance a little complicated for an easy way out, but trust me, it is less detailed than the rules of Hamzatul Istifham meeting Hamzatul Wasl. Right. Last but not least, our second note. حروف الاستفهام, which are nothing but Hamzatul Istifham and hal, are مبنية, which simply means that they will always remain as is, no matter what their grammatical function is within the sentence. That brings us to the end of today's lesson. شكرا على حسن استماعكم ومع السلامة.